I was so blessed by just thinking through that process and those things. Anyhow, so blessed by it that I thought, man, I should probably devote all of tonight to this. And then I prayed about it, and the Lord said, no, you just have to answer faster. Keep going in Deuteronomy, bud. So, Deuteronomy chapter 14. We're just going to take one chapter, okay? All right. Let's be a little more interactive tonight. Who is speaking in Deuteronomy 14? Somebody just tell me. Moses. What day is it in Moses' life? The last day on earth, right? What's the people of Israel about to do? Alex, stop answering the questions. Oh, Tracy, you can't answer either. Going into the promised land, going into Canaan, right? Who's going to be their new leader? Joshua. We're going to get there, right? There's a wonderful book coming. It tells the story of Joshua and his leadership, all right? So, Moses' last words to a nation of people, he said he would give up his salvation to save them. Moses loved them. And these are the things that Moses believed and was told by God were really important. So he's going to lay out last words for his people. And some of the things that he talks about you might not think are very important. There is. Brian, could you help that little girl that's mine not come in here? What? Where is she? What? Oh, there, Jess scurried. I saw it. All right. You got her? All right, good. So, Deuteronomy chapter 14, right? Some of the things that we're going to talk about tonight, you're kind of like, whoa, Moses is just about to leave the earth, and he's telling the Israelites what foods they can and cannot eat, right? And I would just have to tell you this. Sometimes I don't understand why God prioritizes some things over other things, but I do trust him. If he brings something to my attention, it's for my benefit and blessing. And it's in my best interest to listen to him. We'll talk more about that as we get there. But first, verse 1. Moses said, "You are the children of the Lord your God." Just so you know, when Jesus came and he said, when you pray, pray this way, Father, right, who art in heaven. Nobody prayed that way. People didn't talk to God like he was their father that they were going to run to, like we sang. In Jesus' day, God was really far away and holy, and to talk of him like he was your father was pretty strange, but the Old Testament makes it so clear. It's just something that they weren't keyed into. That he is a father, and we are his children. We are the children of the Lord your God. And he tells him something. You shall not cut yourself, nor shave the front of your head for the dead. So no mullets. No mullets, right? No, just kidding. You shall not cut yourself, nor shave the front of your head for the dead. You ever been tempted to do that? Let me say it this way. Have you ever been in agony? You've lost something, or you've been betrayed, and you've wanted to do something destructive? I'm not going to ask for anybody to raise their hands because we all have been there. And this was just a way that people would respond to pain. It's still happening, guys. It's still happening, right? And there's something, what is the word? Is it cathartic? Yeah, big word for you. Where you experience pain. I'll tell you what I did as a teen, not knowing the Lord. I would go out and run 10 miles. Because after 10 miles, you don't feel. And you actually, what you do feel is endorphins and other chemicals in your body that are just like, and then you come down from that and you're just tired and it numbs what's going on. And you know what the world would say to that? It's, oh, man, self-medicating, right? But it didn't solve a thing. It didn't solve a thing. Pick your poison, right? You can try a lot of things, but there is pain that everyone experiences, and God would say, do not handle pain the way the world does. Don't go through pain the way the world does. And the cultures around them would do things like they would cut themselves, and then they would get bad haircuts, which, I mean, it sounds weird to us, but they were ritualistic, and it said something. I'm mourning, right? But there's a way to mourn that's godly, and there's a way to mourn that can be destructive. I walked into, I was at Ballard Hill Park before they fixed it up. There was a young man there, and I had a couple kids. I've told this story before, and he was listening to like music that sounded like, and I was like, oh, cool. I used to listen to music like that too, believe it or not. And so he said, hey, what are you listening to? Trying to make conversation with his teen. And he said, you know, like, it's like wrist-cutting music, right? And I was like, oh, okay. And I forget how exactly we made this quantum leap. It was like, I'm not always this forward, but I was like, you know what's interesting? For thousands of years, people have been doing self-harm because they think that it will make God care for them. It will help God to listen to them. If God sees their pain, pagan cultures for thousands of years have been either doing it to themselves, like we see this Mount Carmel with Elijah and the prophets of Baal, or all the way to like the Aztecs and Incas. I've stood on the top of the Pyramid of the Sun, Tecnoticion, or whatever it's down in near Mexico City, where, what was it? 18,000 or 30,000 people were murdered over 4 days as propitiation, a payment to the gods. And I did the math one time. It was 4 people every second for 4 days. Historical fact. Isn't that crazy? Hey, Alex, would you find Mom? Or what's going on in here? Okay, I couldn't see Mom. All I could see was Eliza. Yeah, and she's distracting me and you. Okay. And so this kid was like, you know, he's kind of looking at me funny now because I'm like, man, cultures for thousands of years have been telling you, if you cut yourself enough, you cut yourself deep enough, somebody will care, God will care. But I told him, I looked him in the eye and I said, you know what? I serve Jesus. And Jesus, rather than wanting me to be hurt for my sins, he suffered for my sins. He took my place. He doesn't say, hey, hurt yourself, destroy yourself, but he was destroyed for me. It's a pretty amazing fact. It's totally the opposite of what most pagan cultures would teach or offer up. And God says, look, don't do that. You don't need to hurt yourself. Someone else would be hurt on your behalf to pay for your sins and to conquer death. You don't need to do it. You are a holy people to the Lord your God. And the Lord has chosen you to be a people for himself, a special treasure above all the peoples who are on the face of the earth. I don't often like to read the Bible out of context, but I think sometimes it lends itself to this. We are a holy people. Peter would say that in his epistle. Holy meaning one of a kind. To the Lord, you are one of a kind. He's your God and he has chosen you. Before you were born, he had a plan for your life. And what you've done in your life has not changed that plan or his love for you. He's chosen you for himself. God, the creator of the universe and our Redeemer, has chosen us for himself. We don't get delegated to an angel. He has chosen us for himself. People get really weird with religion, but I'll tell you a truth that was told to me very clearly. You can be as close to God as you want to be. If you want to be close to God, he has opened the door for that kind of relationship. He wants you. He chose you. You are a special treasure above all the peoples who are on the face of the earth. That didn't mean that God didn't love the other nations, and it doesn't mean that God loves other people more than you or you more than other people. It's just ask me which one of my kids is my favorite, and I'll tell you. All of them. Just not Judah. No, I'm just kidding, Judah. All right, let's keep going. You shall not eat any detestable thing. These are the animals which you may eat: the ox, the sheep, the goat, the deer, the gazelle. This is quite a menu. The roe deer, the wild goat, the mountain goat, the antelope, and the mountain sheep. There's a lot on that list, right? And you may eat every animal with cloven hooves. Look at their feet. Having the hoof split into two parts, and that chews the cud. If they have both, that chew the cud, they have cloven hooves. Among the animals, you can eat them. Nevertheless, of those that chew the cud or have cloven hooves, you shall not eat, such as these: the camel, they spit anyway; the hare, they're fast, you're not going to catch one; the rock hyrax, I don't know what that is. For they chew the cud, but they do not have cloven hooves, therefore they're unclean to you. Also the swine, or pig, pork, is unclean for you, because it has cloven hooves, yet it does not chew the cud. You shall not eat their flesh or touch their dead carcasses. Let's go a little further. These you may eat of all that are in the waters. You may eat all that have fins and scales, and whatever does not have fins and scales you shall not eat. It is unclean for you. If you've ever been out to lunch with my wife and she orders lobster, get a couple extra napkins. You're going to need them, right? Because as she's ripping that shellfish or crustacean or whatever it is apart, man, splatteringness is going everywhere. I can't even watch her eat. I can't listen to her eat lobster. It's a disgusting encounter with a carnivore, right? Anyhow, some of you might like lobster. I can't. I ate a lobster roll a couple days ago that was given to me for free, because why would you pay $20 for this tiny little thing? Anyway, I ate it. It was free. It was at the Cure conference. And I was like, man, this is going to be good because it's free. And I ate it, and it still didn't do anything for me. It was like, come on, right? But anyhow, on the not eat list for the Israelites, coming from God to Moses to them. These weren't arbitrary dietary laws for Moses. They were from the Lord. All clean birds, verse 11, you may eat, but these you shall not eat: the eagle, the vulture, the buzzard, the red kite, the falcon, and the kite after their kinds, every raven after its kind, the ostrich, the short-eared owl, the seagull, and the hawk after their kind. So no baiting seagulls with scraps, like, hold out a sandwich and then grab it. I will tell you this. The other day I was having a conversation actually with your dad, Kaylee, on the phone. And I had called him up, and I was talking to him and just said hi, and a bird literally flew and landed on my leg. Right there on my thigh. So what did normal people do? I don't know, but I grabbed it. And I said, David, I'm going to have to call you back. I just caught a bird. Click. And I carried it inside, and I showed it to all my kids, and it was little. It was kind of like a hatchling. I don't know what you call a baby bird. What's that? It was a baby sparrow, right? And it just, whoop, and then I probably shouldn't have held it because maybe its mom wouldn't take me. I don't know how that all works, but it held me. It came to me, right? It wanted to be held. Anyway, so don't eat seagulls, the hawk after the kinds, 16, the little owl, the screech owl, the white owl, the jackdaw, the carrion vulture, gross, the fisher owl, the stork, the heron after its kind, and the hoopie and the bat. Don't eat bats. No thanks anyway. Also, every creeping thing that flies is unclean for you. They shall not be eaten. You may eat all clean birds. You shall not eat anything that dies of itself. Duh. You may give it to an alien who is within your gates. Not like an alien, but like a stranger, like a foreigner. So here it is. Let me just go a little further. That he may eat it or may sell it to a foreigner. For you are a holy people to the Lord your God. Don't eat things that you just find dead. Now, if a foreigner really wants to eat it, they can take that chance, right? They're not under this same law, dietary law. You can sell it to them, but you shouldn't do that. Don't do it. And then he says at the end, you shall not boil a young goat in its mother's milk. How does that affect us to today? If you travel to Israel, you will not eat a cheeseburger over there. We joked about it the whole trip when I was last in Israel, all over, Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, Joppa, all these different places. You're not going to find a cheeseburger. Why? Because they don't mix meat and cheese because of this verse, right? Just that, I'm not saying that's for us. I'm just saying that's what they do even to this day for the kosher dietary laws. Now, I don't know if you've all had this experience, but YouTube plays ads a lot, right? You go on to listen to a song, you go on to watch a video. I'm not on YouTube a lot, but they do play ads. And I could swear that I've heard ads that are like, do you want to eat the right foods? It will be like superfoods and it'll make you super healthy, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, yeah. And then it's like, you got to eat eggs and this. All the foods that you thought were healthy aren't healthy, and all the foods that you thought were unhealthy are healthy, right? You got to do this, and then you can look like me, and a real buff guy, good-looking people. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's great. And then like a week later, guy comes on. The first guy told me to eat eggs, like all day. Eggs, 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 right? And the next guy says, don't eat any eggs. Eggs are the bane of human existence. We were not created to eat eggs, or we didn't evolve to eat eggs, or whatever the guy says. I'm like, oh, man. Who's right? Who's wrong? Should I have chocolate? Should I have Look, God created us. And he's like, I'm gonna let you know something. Just don't eat things that eat other things. Don't eat vultures because they eat dead things on your chariot ran it over, and then the vultures circle. Just not good for you. Pigs, trichinosis. Right? You just don't want to get that. That could really mess you up, right? And for other reasons, lobster, disgusting, right? You don't want to watch somebody eat lobster. Look, I don't even pretend to know why God made some of these things up, except that he said, if you'll eat my way, you won't experience all the diseases you watched all the Egyptians get. So it's like God is saying, he created the world, he's like, I have a really good diet for you. You should follow it, okay? Now let's talk about this a little more. If you look at the list, it's kind of like predators. He's like, don't eat predators, don't eat scavengers, and then just don't eat things that are kind of just inherently dangerous, like a lot of people struggle to eat them, like shellfish maybe. And then you're like, oh man, this is confusing. So like, it's wrong to eat lobster? Morally wrong? No, it's not. There's a teen here. He asked a great question. Actually, this came up at school a couple years ago. He was in class, and his teacher knew, right at the public high school, right here in Lincoln, that he was a Christian, and said, hey, isn't it ridiculous that God said that certain foods were wrong to eat way back when, and now they're like just fine? Like, isn't that kind of crazy that God changes his mind about these things? Did God change his mind? No, he didn't. And so he called me, which was awesome, and he said, I want to respond to my teacher in front of my classmates, because he kind of made me seem like we had to serve this fickle God that's like, today you can eat tomatoes, but tomorrow you can't, right? And he's like, I feel like he was trying to he set me up, and so I want to have a good response for him. And so I said, should I tell you his name? You all want to know? No. I'm not going to tell you his name. But I said, hey, are you allowed to have your cell phone in school? He's like, well, yeah. Are you allowed to use it in class? Well, no. I said, let me try to remember what I said. I said, is it wrong to have a cell phone? No. Can you use a phone to make bomb threats or look up bad things or whatever? Yeah, but a phone is not inherently wrong. It's a tool. And I said, when you are at school, what does your teacher say? Put your phone away. You're not allowed to use it here. That doesn't make it wrong later to pick up your phone when you're not at school. And that is the way God's law worked too. God would say, hey, across the board, this is moral law. Always wrong, always right. But there were certain things that were situational. And for the nation of Israel at that time, he said, hey, you're in school? I don't want you doing this. And they were like, okay. So if that kid was in school, if he was in school and his teacher had a rule that didn't apply to the rest of his life because it's not a moral issue, but in class, he breaks out his phone, he's texting, he's watching videos, he's not paying attention, guess what? It just became a moral issue because a rule was established that was situational for that time, and he broke it. but he leaves the class, it's fine, no big deal. He said God's law works like that too, because God's smart. Just as smart as you, dude, right? The other thing, I mean, if you really want to apply it, we've got moral law in the Old Testament. We've got ceremonial law, which is just God situationally saying, hey, for this time in this place, as you're doing the thing with the tabernacle and the priest and the Ark of the Covenant, here's how I want you to do it, right? We don't have priests and a tabernacle and the Ark of the Covenant. Things are going to be a little different. We don't have to follow those same rules because we're not Israelites in Moses' day. You following me? Like, we're out of school. We got our phone. It's cool. But he also has dietary laws. So you shouldn't eat your cell phone either. It would be bad for you. Actually, the reason I say that, and it's funny to me, is that I was at a pastor's conference. Joe Foch was speaking. And he said if he heard any of our phones go off, he would take them and give them to Ken Graves, and Ken Graves would eat them. He said that. He's like, I don't know, some of you don't know Ken, but if you did, it would be funny to you because I had this. And we actually came up with a meme, we designed it on the way home, of Ken eating phones that were given to him because people wouldn't silence their phone in church, right? You get the point. God said to them at this time, don't do this. Don't do this. And it was for their own benefit. Has that changed? You bet it has. In Acts 10, God gave Peter a vision where all the unclean animals came down on a picnic sheet, and he told Peter, rise, Peter, kill and eat. And Peter's like, no, I haven't eaten anything unclean my whole life. And God said, don't call, help me out, Alex. Don't call it unclean if God has made it clean. And God was going to send him to the Gentiles, and they were going to be eating new foods and visiting Gentiles' houses, and a whole new thing was opening up. And he had to tell Peter, hey, I'm changing things. That wasn't a moral thing. The situation has changed. You've graduated to college, and you can use your phone in class now to take notes only, right? No, I mean, it was different. Now, just I have to say this, and we've got time to do it, but I have to say this. There are people still, they go around, they appear very spiritual, and they'll tell you that if you eat certain foods, especially the kosher foods like the Jews used to eat, that you will be more spiritual too. You'll be okay if you eat whatever you want, but if you would just trust God and eat the old-fashioned way, man, everything would be better in your life. It's a trust thing. You gotta have faith. You just gotta trust God. I mean, He doesn't change, right? And I would just encourage you, the entire book of Galatians was written because Jews were going around and saying, you gotta get circumcised, you gotta eat these foods, you gotta wash your hands a certain way. All of the things that Jesus came and said, poppycock, right? Man, you don't even know what you're doing. But in Colossians, right around the portion that I read 17 years ago and came to know Jesus and, that he used so profoundly in my life, I just want to read to you chapter 2, verse 16. Just listen. Let no one judge you in food or drink. Don't let anybody judge you for what you eat or you drink. If you're getting drunk, you'll be judged. But just talking normal foods, normal drinks. Or regarding a festival or a new moon or Sabbath. Do you go to church on Saturday? Or have you taken the mark of the beast and you go on Sunday? That's another church in town. Oh my gosh, guys. It doesn't matter. Saturday, Sunday, we want to read on Monday. Who cares? Every day can be alike. Every day's a day to worship God and serve Him. Right? Do you keep the Passover? Well, that's a festival. I don't have to keep it. The Passover came and died on the cross. Man, I'm going to worship Him and celebrate Him in communion, right? Like, I would have no problem going to a Passover service. I don't need to be made feel like I'm less spiritual because I don't have one every other day with my family, right? Those are a shadow of things to come. They're shadows. I want the real thing, not the shadow. Let me just read a little further. But the substance is of Christ. Let no one cheat you out of your reward, taking delight in false humility and worship of angels, intruding into those things which he has not really seen, vainly puffed up in his fleshly mind and not holding fast to the head. If you got Jesus, you got everything, from whom all the body, nourished and knit together by joints and ligaments, grows with the increase that is from God. A little further. Therefore, if you died with Christ from the basic principles of the world doesn't own you. God is your master. You're serving him. Why, as though living in the world, do you subject yourself to regulations, right? God has given you freedom. Don't touch, people will say, don't taste, don't handle, which are all concerned things which perish with the using, according to the commandments and doctrines of men. Oh, you shouldn't eat pig. Man, it will really mess you up spiritually. No, it won't. It tastes great. You should try it, right? These things indeed have an appearance of wisdom. They do. In self-imposed religion, false humility, and the neglect of the body, but are of no value against the indulgence of the flesh. You can diet all you want, but it doesn't make you more spiritual, right? You get it? Don't let somebody come and trick you into thinking that you will be or you won't be, depending on what you eat or drink, or which day you go to church, or if you celebrate Passover, Seder, or not. Okay? And that's still happening. Still happening. Okay, let's finish out Deuteronomy 14, shall we? Okay? I have something very funny to say, but I have to wait till Sunday to say it. So I hope you're here. Verse 22, you shall truly tithe all the increase of your grain and the field produces the field produces year by year. Okay. You shall truly tithe. Tithe means give 10%. Where are we reading? In the Old Testament. Who is this written to? The nation of Israel. Some incredible Christians that I look up to think God is still after that 10%. They really like that 10%. I like the 10%. I think it's a great place to start and think about, hey, God has given me everything. I'll give him back a tenth, right? That'll bless him. Other people, and I'm kind of on this side, to be honest, I don't think God is requiring a percentage. I think he gives us an idea in the Old Testament of, something that's healthy and good. And then they were called to give 10%. I think we're called to give cheerfully, gratefully, back to the Lord. We'll talk about that in a minute. But he says, you shall truly tithe. Truly tithe. Truly tithe. Truly tithe all the increase of the grain that the field produces year by year. Don't falsely tithe. Whatever you do, whatever you decide to give to the Lord in gratitude, in support of what he's doing in his kingdom, don't be false about it. Don't act like you give a lot, but you're not, right? Don't act like you give something when you give nothing. Just give humbly. You don't need to tell anybody about what you give. It's between you and the Lord. But if you sow sparingly, and Paul taught this, you will reap sparingly. And he applied that to money and to financially giving to support the ministry that you're part of or God's work in other places. Let's talk about this for a second. You shall truly tithe all the increase of your grain that the field produces year by year. So it should be planned, it should be consistent, proportional to what God has blessed you with, and you should happily and gratefully give back to him. Notice this, though, 23, we're almost done. You shall eat before the Lord your God in the place where he chooses to make his name abide, the tithe of your grain and your new wine and your oil of the firstborn of your herds and your flocks, that you may learn to fear the Lord your God always. Now, I'm rushing a little bit, but what God would ask them to do is set aside a tenth and then take that tenth to the place where you worship God, where he had called them to gather as a congregation, which would be Gilgal in one season of Israel's history, and then Shiloh, and then ultimately Jerusalem. Travel to Jerusalem with your tenth. So that could be, one animal if you have 10, or 10 animals if you have 100, or 100 animals if you have 1,000, right? And you're going to go there, and what are you going to do as you're presenting your gift to God? Did anybody hear it? You're going to do what? You're going to eat. And when I eat, I'm satisfied. God is calling people to give. And as you give, you know what happens? It blesses you. You're more blessed to give than to receive. Paul taught that. When we give of ourselves, we are blessed. Not necessarily with money. It could be harder because we gave. But I've always been blessed to give, and you can't outgive God. God is awesome. And when I retain, greed takes away the life of its owners. But giving has never done that to me. Don't give because you're under compulsion. Somebody's making you give. Don't give and gripe. Give freely. Now, who should you give to? Well, when you give, you'll eat of some of that which you give. You'll enjoy it. You'll learn to fear the Lord your God always. You'll trust him. God is awesome. He's provided. Look at, there's something for me in all of this. I'm giving it away, but I'm blessed in return. But he says, if you got a lot and the journey is too far for you so that you're not able to carry the tithe, a tenth of your increase from that year, if you can't bring all of those animals, it's too far, it's too hard, or if the place where the Lord your God chooses to put his name is too far from you, when the Lord your God has blessed you, then you shall exchange it for money, take the money in your hand and go to the place. You still got to go, which the Lord your God chooses. Still go there, but you can take money, exchange it for money, and then go there. And when you get there, you shall spend that money for whatever your heart desires, for oxen, for sheep, for wine, or similar drink, for whatever your heart desires. Notice that. Whatever your heart desires is said twice. You shall eat there before the Lord your God, and you shall rejoice, you and your household. Who should you give to? Pray about it. I want to be part of God's kingdom and what he's doing. And I'm going to pray about who I should give. What I work, not just for me, I work to have something to give to God and to those in need, right? Isn't that what we're supposed to be doing as Christians? And then nobody tells me who I have to give to. I love that. I get to give to whoever I choose. God is going to tell me in just a few minutes, here's some options for you. And the New Testament does tell us, as Christians, that we should support our local church, right? Which is, I want to silence the mic, but we're taken care of so wonderfully here. And somebody asked me today, like, how do you get paid? Like, where does the money come from? Where does the money come from? People give. All my needs are taken care of. But can you imagine a local church where a pastor and his family are just, and this is not here, but they're just working their butts off, and the people won't even pay him enough to feed his kids? What a disgrace. Who's he working for? He's working for the Lord, but he's working for them. He's laboring for them. And a worker is worth his wages. So, of course, there's the practical side of, we got to support our local church, right? That just makes sense. That's like a father feeds his children. It makes sense. A mother feeds her kids. It makes sense, right? But here's the deal. How do you do that? When do you do it? In what ways do you do it? That's up to you. That's really cool. There's a lot of freedom in that. And then all of the other things you do, I'll say, hey, Lori, I need you to give this to them. No. Whatever your heart desires. And as you choose to do that, you're blessed. You eat of it too. It's amazing. Right? Sorry to call you. I'll call out on Jamie next time. I'll use Jamie. All right. So look, God goes on, he says, Moses goes on, you shall spend that money, whatever your heart desires, you shall eat there before the Lord your God, you shall rejoice, you and your household. Now, a couple things that he passes on. You shall not forsake the Levite. Those are the people without land inheritance, without regular jobs. They were serving the Lord, they were serving their people, they were serving their nation. That's what they were doing. You could kind of think of them as pastoral, like full-time ministry. You can't forget about them. You can't forget about them. Don't support the ones that aren't doing any work, but you can't forget about the ones that are laboring. For he has no part nor inheritance with you. Continuing thought. And at the end of every third year you shall bring out the tithe of your produce of that year and store it up within your gates. Every 3 years you should do this. Store it up locally. And the Levite, because he has no portion nor inheritance with you, and the stranger and the fatherless and the widow who are within your gates, may come and eat and be satisfied, that the Lord your God may bless you in all the work of your hands which you do. If I could say it simply, don't forget that you can bless people right around here. Like, I'm really a big fan of missions. Like, we'll probably go on a trip to Africa next year, okay? But there's people with needs right here. Don't forget about them. God has planted you in Lincoln, Maine, so you can be aware of things that people across the world don't know. And if you're working, you're not just working for you. You're working so that when God and your desires collide and you notice somebody that has a need, you can secretly, wonderfully, gladfully do something about it. Even if it's not everything, you do what you can. Bless them. And whether anybody knows about it, but God, that's the best circumstance, you can just enjoy that he would use somebody like you to bless them. You could have a part in it. Don't forget about who? What are the groups of people? The Levites, those in ministry. Don't forget about who? The fatherless. Are there any fatherless in our town? It's a whole generation fatherless. Strangers. Not everybody in Lincoln has extended family up the wazoo, right? Has generations and generations, or just has a good solid family or a family that they can really fellowship with. Some people are pretty alone even if they don't seem that like they're all that alone. Stranger, the fatherless, the stranger, and you guys know any widows? And you'll just have to trust him. If you give to them, your God may bless you in all the work of your hands which you do. I was going to take you out in the building because we're pretty much all done the framing. We've got the siding and like the roofing, and then we're like first stage of the project is complete. But hey guys, just don't forget, God's kingdom is spiritual, but it's also practical. And I want to take you out there and just say, hey, look at these trusses, and look at these walls, and look at this concrete, and look, that came from somewhere. It came from people giving. I keep a list. I don't know who gives what here financially, but I don't know if this is wrong. I've kept a list of every volunteer that's come out, because that's a way you can give too. Not everybody has money to give. Maybe money's tight and you do have time and skill, right? Energy. And that means something to the Lord. And you know, it might not seem like much, but someday we're going to have our first baptism over there, and our first wedding, the first sermon, first song, first prayer, first person got saved. And it's my hope that God would use us over there, just like he's used us here. Kids would have more room over here, right? And then we could step back and say, man, look at what God has done, right? But the reality is, it's what God has done through his people. If you want to be part of that, awesome. If you don't, you should just spend some more time with the Lord. Seek first his kingdom, and everything else will be added to you, right? And I hate talking about money, but Moses didn't. He said, hey, you should truly tithe. God's been so good to you. He's been so good to you. And he's giving you a way to invest in something eternal. You should take it. You should take it. Father, I still went over, and forgive me, everybody, but Lord, I know you've been here with us. We thank you for your presence, Lord, and your instruction. You said things to me that I need to hear, and vice versa for all the rest of us, Lord. We love you, Lord, and now bless our time of fellowship as we hang out. Pray this in your name. Amen. Grace and peace, guys. Hey.